AWS SDK, and then it also need where SES, and this SES needs new AWS SES, so new AWS dot SES, and this inside this SES we need API version that must be 2010 and then 12 then 01. Okay, and then we need variable, a new variable named as SQS, and inside this SQS then we are going to again create a new variable, a new instance of SQS, AWS dot SQS, and inside this region is a default region which we are using, US East 1, so it will be getting access to US East 1 SQS, and then we want Q URL, so another variable named as Q URL, and for this we need a Q URL. So our Q URL, we have to see that Q URL here. So let's go into the detail of this Q. Sorry, here the Q URL is here. Just copy this and then you need to paste it here. And also, of course, we need to make it into inverted, we need to make it into, single quote, and then just terminate it with the semicolon. And then we need another variable named as a Q size, or you can say just Q size, and initially Q size is null, and then another variable we need which will say that the content, and the content is here null, and then we need also Q parameters. So here another variable Q, and this is params, and this Q params is equal to attribute. We need to define it with the attribute. So attribute names. Okay, so attribute names is equal to approximate number of messages. So you must write here approximate number of messages. Sorry. Approximate number of messages, and then we need to give here Q URL, and Q URL is Q URL, right? So now we have given two parameters attributes to this Q params. One attribute is Q URL, and of course another one we have given attribute name as approximate number of messages. Okay, great. Now we can start coding into our exports.handler. So it has three parameters. One is event, context, and callback. These three parameters are corresponding to the message which will receive from the SQS service, that's the event, and there will be a context from which context it is receiving, and then the callback. Okay, so the callback, it is sending here null hello from lambda. So what we can do, we can remove that callback. Actually, we do not need that callback. So this is the callback function. And for that, what we can do, we can test actually this one. Okay, so this tutorial has been long enough. So let's test this lambda function, which whether it is working or not. So for that, let's save it. And we need to also see that we need to create here a trigger function. We need to create here a trigger so that it can trigger this lambda function periodically. So let's add a trigger from a cloudwatch. Okay, so that trigger can be attached from cloudwatch event, and let's add it cloudwatch event as a trigger. So once I click on this, so it will add here cloudwatch event, but we have to create a cloudwatch event. Okay, so for that, what we can do, we can go into a cloudwatch. So let's search here cloudwatch. Okay, so CloudWatch, in the event, we need to come into event, and then we need to create a new event from there. Okay, so new rule in that event. So create a new rule, and this rule is a scheduler, and fixed rate is, let's say, just put just a minute. Okay, so just put 1 minute, and then we need to put a target. That's mean which target this CloudWatch will trigger. So we can add that cloud function target, that's the YouTube here. Okay, and let's just leave it those things as it is. We do not need to disturb, and just configure these details. Once we configure these details, now we can give here a name to this set, that's the YouTube. Okay, and state is enable, and create this rule. So YouTube rule has been created, and then you will see there this lambda function will be executed at 1 minute, at every 1 minute. And now let's save it. Now let's click on here configuration required, and once we click on configuration required, then we need to add that rule which we have created, okay, earlier. So that rule, what we can do, actually that rule is not reflecting here, so we need to refresh this. So once we refresh it, that new rule will appear there. So just click on this CloudWatch event, and you see here a new rule has been attached to this one, and the rate of this rule is 1 minute. That means it will execute this lambda function at every 1 minute. Now we can see this execution into our CloudWatch, the log event. So inside this log, you can come into here YouTube, and you see here a new log has been reported to this CloudWatch, and here see loading function YouTube has been executed. And if you remember, our first console was loading function YouTube. Okay, so our first console print was this itself, that was a loading function YouTube. Okay, and once it will receive a message from that SQS, it will also print hello from Lambda. And let's refresh it one more time, and let's see only last 30 seconds. So there is no events in last 30 seconds, and just wait for a few more seconds. It will execute it second time, and for that we can go into once again into log, and then we can see into here YouTube log, and click on here, and you see here it has executed 2 times. You see here at 12:36 and 12:37. Okay, and also at 12:37 there was no new message, so that's mean it has not executed anything there. Okay, perfect. Now let's Now let's attach the queue, okay, to this function. So let's remove this callback. We don't need this callback. So there are three basic implementation which we are going to do. We are going to first initialize the queue, and then we are going to read the data from that queue, and then finally we will delete that message from the queue. That means once message is processed, then we have to delete that message. So let's first create a function named as initialize queue. Okay, so we can create that function with a function initialize queue, and then it will attach with the callback queue. Okay, callback queue, and let's create this function. So first of all that we need to print here on console so that we can keep track how it is performing. So we can say reading from queue. So reading from queue, oops, sorry, we need to put it into our braces, these round braces. Okay, so read from queue, and then we need to add this as a